Welcome to Speedway Motors. My name's Tim. I'm one of the techs here. I'm also building a Model A Roadster. You may have been following along. It's a steel Roadster body on a set of pinch deuce rails. Very excited about it. I've been working on it for many years. If you know anything about me, you know I'm always on a tight budget with 2 kids at home. It's not something I have a lot of money to throw at. I'm also interested in making this thing look like it came out of the 50s. So of course I'm always scavenging old parts, and I've been building a pile in the corner of my garage for many years. One of my favorite parts I've ever been able to track down for this old car is an intake manifold. And it actually caused me to set out to build an engine around it. I got a call about 7 years ago. A guy said, "Hey, I know you're interested in old Hemi parts." He said, "I've got this wonderful intake." I showed up at his place, and he pulls this thing out of the garage, and of course it's got Edmunds carved on the top of it. I didn't know anything about Edmunds, but boy, you can believe me, I fell in love with the intake. The price was right, so I bought it. Didn't look like it had any damage, so I set out to not only build an engine around it, but I also wanted to know everything there was to know about Edmunds. Now, Eddie Edmunds was an interesting guy, but you won't find out much about him if you do a Google search, or if you go on Wikipedia. There is no page that talks about his history and his company. He did business back in the 40s and 50s. I think he ended up closing down in 1959. The only article I was able to find, probably the most inclusive, best article, was in Rodder's Journal, number 38. On page 72, there's about a 5-page article in there talking about Edmunds. And what was really intriguing about Edmunds is he was a guy that he wanted to give the common man more performance. He wasn't really interested in hot rod parts per se. So if you want to know more about Edmunds, I would urge you to get in there and read that article, and it's very fascinating. Edmunds was a neat guy. I decided to run my intake because the part had some interesting history to me. I liked the guy's story I bought it from, and then I decided, well, heck, if I'm going to have an Edmunds intake, I should have some Edmunds air cleaners to top it all off. Of course, Edmunds air cleaners are not easy to find. I realized really quickly I wasn't going to be able to track them down anytime soon. So I started looking around, and lo and behold, here at Speedway, we actually started carrying some exact reproductions of what Eddie Edmunds would have cast back in the early 50s. We've got an oval style and some short rounds, and then some tall round air filters too. The reason I pulled them to show them to you is because even if you don't have an Edmunds intake, these things are really great. They're heavy castings. They're really highly polished. They're nice in that they have just some drop-in replacement filters that are easy to track down. I love frog mouth scoops on a hot rod, but the nice thing about these is they're going to filter all your air. I don't know about you, but I've got a heck of an investment in my old Hemi, and having just open frog mouths, even with a screen, kind of scares me. So I'm glad to have these as an option. They have the old chicken wire style filters on them, which give them that early look, and I just love it. The neck is actually 2 5/8 inch, so they work on any Stromberg 97, Holly 94, some Rochesters too. So definitely a nice piece. I would recommend them to anybody. As you can see, they're very nice. You don't really get the full feeling for how well they're made when you look at a picture in a catalog. So hopefully this will help you out. We've got a lot of other ways to top off your carburetors too. If you want to check them out, they're in our catalog, or visit our website, speedwaymotors.com. We've got a wonderful group of techs that are here to help you. I'm glad to have you tune in. Really appreciate it. Give us a call with anything you need. We're always happy to help.